think we're ready to start. Welcome, everyone. And I'll start by introducing myself real quick, and then we'll jump right in. My name is Karen Benalta. I've been in the staffing and recruiting industry for the last 20 years. Probably in the last 15 years or so, I've been focused on the VMS and MSP channels. I've had the opportunity to work as a recruiter, a supplier, a client, as an MSP provider for many years. So I do have that kind of a 360 view if I've held any role in this vicious cycle of recruiting. And in the last 4 years, I've implemented and I'm managing an in-house run VMS program for Transamerica. This is a global program. I have a team that we are managing every aspect of the program in our contingent workforce center of excellence. And this is why I'm super excited about today's topic, as I'm very passionate about the contingent workforce program and our partnership, of course, with our supplier, which is the key to our success. In today's session, we'll discuss a few of the topics affecting the corporate contingent workforce programs, how we are partnering with our preferred suppliers and how they are successfully navigating the challenges and mitigating all the risk for our company. The importance of adherence to the corporate rules and the guidelines, as well as the positive effects of forming the strong partnership that we have that benefits both the suppliers and us, the end client. This is why I'll have this amazing panel, and I'm going to share PDF file with you to show you a little bit about our program and about our fantastic pool of suppliers that we have with us here today. It will upload in a minute. Perfect. So let me know when you can see the screen. Looks good. So, of course, we have the introductions. Then we'll go through a little bit of the overview of the program. We'll have a discussion about what makes our suppliers so successful in that environment. And, of course, we'll give time to Q&A, which you are more than welcome to type in questions throughout the session on our chat that we will be monitoring. So this is me. And the first person that we have with us today is Irene Gardner. She is with Robert Half. And Irene, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Karen. Happy to be here today. Welcome to everyone. Irene Gardner. I think I might be the grandma of the group, but I've been with Robert Half for 22 years. And I am a managing vice president in our strategic accounts division. So I manage a team of national account folks in the Midwest, and I'm just glad to be here and join the panel.
Great. Thank you, Irene. Next, we have Chandra with Aston Carter, formerly known as Aerotech. Chandra?
Yes, thank you, Karen. Hello, everybody. So excited to be here today, and thank you, Karen, for the opportunity to speak as part of this panel. I think we're going to have a very exciting and really lucrative conversation today. But again, like Karen said, my name is Chandra Wiezerich with Aston Carter, which is formerly Aerotech. We recently announced some very exciting news that we were splitting into 3 separate operating companies based on the industry and specialization that we support. But I have been with Aston Carter Aerotech for nearly 11 years, and I currently serve as a strategic account executive where I partner and help manage the relationships and partnerships with some of our largest, most strategic customers nationwide. In particular, I specialize more on the professional services, third-party BPO, high-volume call center space, as well as our insurance and financial services.
Great. Thank you, Chandra. Next, last but not least, Matt Dobbins with Apex Systems. Matt?
Hey, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Karen. I'm very excited to be here today along with my other panelists, so thank you for the opportunity and looking forward to presenting. I've been with Apex Systems for a decade, so 10 years, so not as much as Chandra Irene, but definitely for a long time. I support our financial services and insurance clients as a senior director of national accounts, and I have 5 total that I support nationwide. I have 28 account managers underneath me. And a lot of those are dedicated to Transamerica and Karen and her team. So looking forward to presenting today and looking forward to get this thing going.
Great. Thank you. And with that, let us jump right in. We will have today some sort of an informative session to address some of the topics that are affecting the corporate contingent workforce program. We'll discuss the partnership and the key principle of how this partnership is benefiting us, and of course, how we are mitigating risk to the company while allowing and adhering to all the rules and regulation, but also allowing our preferred supplier to shine in the program. So I'll tell you a little bit about our successful program that we have. To be able to manage a successful program, and that's my strong belief, we need to have a great pool of supplier that we really heavily rely on. If you are a supplier, you always need to be a strategic partner. We need to partner in the best way possible and have an honest, direct, and very frequent communication about the program. No issue is small, so we are willing to discuss anything, any question, and challenges, and of course, the golden path, the adherence to the program rules. I know that the program rules always come in as no, this is not set to prevent suppliers from doing more business at Transamerica or any other program that they are working on, but it is crucial from a compliance standpoint. We we strongly believe in unbiased sourcing and equal opportunity for all suppliers. We implemented specifically this program, understanding the fear that most preferred suppliers will have after they went through a cultivating trusting relationship with all of our hiring manager, and they were super afraid, and like many other programs, they were fearful that implementing a VMS system will cut off and all the insights and all the relationship and personal relationship that they had with our managers. Thus, we always had in mind to ensure that the valuable insights that they have and all the knowledge of our company and industry will always be there to ensure business continuity for both suppliers and company. And the same service level and strong partnership will continue, even though we are under a VMS structure. So that was always the goal. Eh, One of the other keys that we have as a PMO office is we want to act as an ally to all of our suppliers. We want to be to create and form this great partnership with our suppliers, and that's why we are partnering based on an RFP. So when we implemented the program, we conducted an RFP. Each job posting that we are creating is released usually to 3 to 5 suppliers at most. We're trying to make sure that all suppliers get an opportunity to work with us, fulfill our needs, and that they get a really good opportunity to play and present their top talent to our managers. We are not and never were interested in a master vendor solution that was very popular 7 years ago, but we really value the diversity of the suppliers and the contingent workers that is essential to our success. We are utilizing Fieldglass as our vendor management system tool to add an advantage, a highly agile platform to manage all the aspects of the contingent workforce. We are not using a managed service provider or an MSP, but we are rather having an internal program management team, and we are keeping the program in-house as our corporate team. The Transamerica Contingent Workforce Program is comprehensive, strategic, and a very sustainable program that governs end-to-end management of all the contingent workers. And we're using data and scalable contingent workforce program management that is flexible to internal change and external change as well. We are enjoying, thankfully, a very high percent of adoption in the company. And this system, Fieldglass for us, is serving as the system of records and is integrated internally with several key AP, data and analytics, risk, identity, real estate systems to make sure we have a full overview and control of our contingent workforce population. So I'm managing the PMO team, the VMS specialists that are the key and behind it, they are managing the day-to-day. They are essential and crucial for the success of the program, and they are fantastic and doing an amazing job. Our main goal is to partner with our suppliers on the needs that Transamerica has, and we speak very frequently with all of our suppliers. I really do think, and I know I emphasize it already, but this is the key for a successful program. I've worked in the past in several companies where the PMO team or the MSP team wasn't always the most responsive to suppliers. And I think that it is a key that we need to understand that the stakeholders for any successful programs are not just the company we work for or at. It's also the suppliers. They are equal stakeholder in this equation, and to be successful and be able to build on the contingent workforce solutions, we have to adhere to both sides of the company. And without them, we will not be able to build it. Lastly, it is essential not to have too many suppliers in each area. I cannot have 10 or 15 suppliers working on one requisition. So we do try to balance it out. We are opening very small amounts of after the RFP for very unique or niche areas to add additional suppliers, but we aim to have a good balance of suppliers, but also to make the sourcing and the fulfillment process possible and attainable to all suppliers. Partnership, as I said, this is the key word here. This is the hallmark for our relationship. As for the suppliers to develop their top-notch talent, we must help them deliver. We have to work together and achieve this shared goal of meeting our business needs and balancing our spend with high-quality supplier partnership. To us, the management is of the workforce is the responsibility of the suppliers. So we do ask our suppliers to manage their workforce to avoid the risk of co-employment. We encourage our suppliers to work with them, encourage the workers' registration, monitor timesheet submittals, end date management, assignment status. Everything that goes on, we ask our supplier to manage and reach out to us so we can work with the manager to mitigate and ensure everything is up to date and partnering. So we have to partner on all of those to make sure that we are keeping everybody in the loop on every issue, small or big. Now I'll start with several questions to my panel right here, and I'll direct some of the questions that I have for them, and I'll be happy to address in the Q&A. If you have additional questions, please put them in. We'll try to address everything. So the first question I had was, what do you think that you as a company are doing differently to be successful in the contingent workforce program? And how are you partnering with the PMO office to have an advantage? Chandra, do you want to take this one?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Karen.
Sure.
And I really want to highlight, Karen, thank you for the overview there of what Transamerica is doing and the excellent program that you've built there. You spoke to a few key factors that I want to highlight too that have really always been, I think, important, especially in those, with any of our partners, but PMO and MSP partnerships as well. But now that we're experiencing, and I think we can probably all relate to this, a very rapid changing economic landscape and workforce landscape, significant challenges that some of us have never faced before, just with low unemployment rates and higher quit rates than we've seen in the market with the workforce, and given a lot of that because of the pandemic that we're in. However, Karen, you spoke to the level of just communication and partnership and strategic transparency too. And I think that that's key, and something that is really an approach that I like to take with our PMO and MSP partners on being transparent of the challenges that we maybe are experiencing or facing in the marketplace, and making sure I'm arming my MSP and PMO partners with real life data, maybe even more rapidly and often than we were previously, because it used to be where you could come in on a quarterly scorecard or business review, or even annually, evaluating things such as pay rates in the market or employee value propositions. But now we're seeing changes like we've never seen in that space. So the more we can arm our partners with the data points, the proof points, and not only what we're experiencing, but the facts themselves, in order to help not only our workforce be successful within these programs, but also our end partners or end business to be successful, to meet their goals and objectives at the end of the day on the value that the workforce, the temporary workforce resources and consultants are bringing in on a day-to-day basis. And I'm sure many of you are aware, but I think just most recently we hit the lowest workforce participation rate that we've seen since the 1970s. The unemployment rate has dropped significantly nationally. It equates to less than one unemployed job applicant per job posting. I think it's roughly 0.64 job applicants. So the more that we can bring that data to life with our PMO and MSP partners, I think the more successful program that we can look to evaluate and build long-term with some of these strategic partners.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chandra. This was very insightful. Matt, do you have anything to add? What do you do differently to be super successful in this program?
Well, I feel like Chandra nailed that for sure.
She did.
Yes, data is so important, especially now with the changing landscape. I think what I'll say is, at first, it's really important just to deliver, provide quality candidates on time, that sort of thing. But as Chandra mentioned, that's becoming tougher and tougher to do. We're specific to IT, Apex Systems is, and IT is in less than 1% unemployment right now. So finding the right type of talent when Transamerica needs it is tough. So obviously delivering when you need to deliver is number one. But I think when that's what our job is, right? And I would say 95% of the time we come through on that. But when there's an issue, when one of our account managers steps outside of what's supposed to be happening in terms of compliance, talking to a manager maybe, I think when a challenge arises, Karen talks a lot about partnership, being head on with them, understanding, okay, this is what the program rules are, addressing any issues directly with our internal team, making sure they understand the rules of engagement, but then also owning that when something happens. I feel like a partnership, and Karen, I think you would agree with Apex and Transamerica, it's been totally transparent. And when there has been an issue, I think we as suppliers and partners should be judged upon when something goes wrong and how we handle those situations, as opposed to when we're doing just what we're supposed to be doing. And so I think just being as honest and open as we can with them. And then Karen mentioned this too, just the communication. They've been great in terms of helping us understand what those rules are, communicating those to us. We've been great with, in terms of doing our job, but then also communicating back to them when there are issues and working together to make sure we get the right people in the right spots. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. And I think that's actually a perfect leeway into the next question I wanted to address. This has been an extremely challenging labor landscape lately. How are you accommodating to meet your clients' needs in this great resignation, or other names that it has been called? It's a trend. Is it affecting your sourcing strategies, your abilities to secure contractors for different positions? Irene, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Thanks, Karen.
Sure.
Well, it's I think, not only the panelists as well as probably everyone listening understands and feels the struggle. The struggle is real. The struggle is real right now. One of the things that we did, we've always had a segment of our workforce that are called full-time contractors. There are benched candidates. They get the same benefits that I do through Robert Half. And we made a decision to significantly increase the number of full-time contractors that we have available, so we could flat out have the workforce available. When you're struggling with such low unemployment numbers, especially when you get to the professional areas, one of the things that we've done, we actually have currently, we've increased by over 57% our investment in our bench staff. We were 5,000 candidates out that are always available, that are full-time. So that helps. We also recently launched a certified apprenticeship program. And that program focuses on upskilling the available workforce that's there and reaches the underserved demographics, and also aligns with our and our clients' DEI efforts. So that's been something a little innovative that we have recently launched. And then I think when you really just, again, think about this landscape, the great resignation, or I also read, recently, maybe it's the great reshuffle, right? Because it's really not about them leaving the workforce as much as moving job to job. And so really having an intense candidate care and retention investment, I think, is just really critical. We've had to increase the number of retention specialists that we have on board, really shifting, I think, the mentality to meet candidates where they are. Recently we did a survey, it was a pretty big number, over 6,000 employees, including senior managers. 41% of those folks were looking for work. And so I think this whole, environment really requires us to invest in our people, understand what they a key performer. But those are some of the key things, Karen, that we're doing to accommodate and try to have enough people available to meet the needs of our client.
Great, thank you. And I think our PDF just fell, but Chandra, do you have anything to add?
Just a few, Irene, that was great insight too. Thank you for sharing. And I think you really covered a lot of probably what similar things that we've also invested in. And I really liked what you said there about the retention piece and investing in that retention space and meeting candidates where they're at, where we started to really, now that we're in this changing demographic and landscape that we're going through right now, is starting to capture a lot more, exit survey information or post-training survey information to really understand, what is it that outside of, wage increases too, because I think that that's something that we're consistently consulting our business partners on. We do have to keep up with that trend in order to even attract the candidates away for the right opportunity. But what else are they looking for from an employee value proposition perspective too? And working with whether it's our MSP, PMO partners or some of the customers that we serve outside of the PMO, MSP space as well. And how do we build out a really strong EVP or employee value proposition to first and foremost attract those candidates in the door, and then on the backside, retain them as well. And listening to, whether that's through other benefits, workforce flexibility. We've also partnered with a lot of our customers, and I know we're going to get into the remote workforce topics here later on, so I don't want to speak too much to this, but I myself have really specialized in that high volume contact center or customer care space. And that was an industry where a lot of those individuals had never worked remotely before. So there were challenges at the height or the beginning and height of the pandemic when we shifted that workforce home, is from technology perspective and being able to train in that environment, and really partnering with our customers and us being more involved in that training aspect and the day-to-day performance monitoring and managing aspect, where we started to realign and work with our customers too on, revamping those trainer to rep ratios. We realized that some of the bigger training classes didn't work as well in the remote environment. So re-gearing those ratios out, and same with the team lead and the supervisor and the manager rep to ratios to know, hey, we need to work with people and meet them where they're at to make sure that this is a good experience for them. So that's been a really big one, and what we've kind of done to combat that, what I'd call the great resignation. But I think, Irene, you really said it best, when if you haven't been impacted by that, I would be quite surprised. I think we all certainly have, and we've all had to adapt pretty quickly on that. And then one other piece too is we're seeing a huge trend across multiple industries right now where companies are starting to really look at the qualifications and the requirements of what they're asking candidates maybe bring to the table, and being a little bit more open-minded, I think, on they don't necessarily have to have all of these skills. Where do they have the basis of the skills, and we can upskill them or uptrain them to open up the candidate pool and bring them in. Also revamping such things as, and I know this isn't doable for all customers, but we've seen companies start to look at, are there things we can tweak in our background check process or drug screening or compliance requirements to make that offer to start timeframe a little bit more quickly as well, and know that they can retain those candidates even more quickly to get them in the door.
Fantastic. and this is actually a really hot topic to say the least. COVID-19 has affected everybody, the way we work, the way we source, the way we ship, the way we train. Matt, do you want to touch a little bit on how the work from home scenario and how did it affect your workforce as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the topics that have been brought up already, especially with upskilling, has been so big for us. Yeah, as we see more people working from home, a lot of companies used to have, and Transamerica included, used to have a strategic locations where everybody had to sit there. Now everyone's kind of open to working from home, and so that's really opened up the candidate pool. That's helped us identify better talent, especially in the tech space, where I mentioned that unemployment in IT is less than 1%. And so now, as opposed to just Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where Transamerica is headquartered, now we can look nationwide, which is really exciting. So we can get best talent, and oftentimes we can get them a little bit cheaper, which is always great for our customers. And they love that too. I did want to hit on the upskilling piece though, because I feel like that's a big part of retaining people. To give them, an opportunity to continue to expand their skill set, not just say, "Hey, you're going to be a contractor for us. Go work at this client, and then, hopefully we can place you another client." How can we continue to build them from a professional standpoint? To really help them, be able to blossom their career. How can we help to, retain them on our bench so that they're not just leaving for, a couple extra dollars here or there, but that they have some loyalty to our customers. And that obviously translates to happy contractors, which, obviously is great for all of our clients too. So that upskilling piece has really been a game changer to make sure we can retain talent and keep them placed with our clients.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. And I think we lost Irene. I'm not sure. Irene, are you with us? Nope. Okay. So let's move on for now, and we'll go back to Irene after that. So Matt, I'm going to stay with you for the next question. Can you share any additional VMS or MSP examples of good partnership and what they do to encourage it, and how are you successful in those type of programs? And feel free to refer to any type of programs that you are servicing or any type of clients, in-house or MSP based.
Sure. Yes. So I think the biggest thing with these types of programs is, and Karen mentioned this at the very top, if people weren't here, I noticed we had several people join the session, but the partnership and communication with those VMO teams, with those MSP teams, that is absolutely critical. And for us to be able to, and Chandra mentioned this, be able to bring real live data to them to say, hey, maybe this bill rate's not realistic. Maybe we can increase that and you're going to, see X amount more candidates. Or, hey, have we thought about this process? Why are we interviewing people? Why is there a 3-step interview process? Well, maybe we can knock this down to 1 or 2 interview steps and be able to retain talent and get them in the door quicker, because a lot of times we want to make sure we get the right talent. But obviously speed is really important too. So, the best partnerships that we have are MSPs and VMOs that are open to that kind of feedback, where we have a really great partnership and we can just talk through strategy together, and that they're open to that. I would say where some things become unsuccessful is where it's like, hey, these are our rules of engagement. You can deal with it or not. And they don't really, the vendors or suppliers don't really have a voice in those programs. And those tend to be a little bit more unsuccessful for us.
Great. And the next question I'll ask each and every one of you, because you probably have your own different view on it. What trends do you anticipate the contingent workforce space will have in the next year? And do you think any trends you see in the market needs to be addressed by the corporate that you are supporting? Do we need to change any requirements on our end? Do we need to change how we look for candidates? Be flexible on specific things? Increase or change rates? Any type of advice basically to all the corporates that you're supporting based on what you see out there? Matt, would you like to take this one?
Sure, I'm back to back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I think the more flexible our clients can be, the better, and the more open-minded we are. And so it is our job as suppliers to make sure we're bringing solutions to the table that could work for the clients to make sure they fulfill their business needs. At the end of the day, that's our job. There's multiple ways to do that. I think one of the biggest ones is just making sure we keep an open mind, open dialogue, and bring good talent to the table. Now, in terms of contingent labor, I've seen a trend to becoming more managed services as well. Whereas it used to be at Transamerica, we supported, and a lot of our clients just kind of like onesie twosie contract to hire. Now it's more like, all right, Apex, you own this project. Here's an SOW. And how do we come to the table with a combination of bench resources of U.S. and nearshore, offshore resources? Like what does that solution look like to make sure that Transamerica is able to be successful for their customers? So I think that's a really good start, is just to be able to talk through those customizable solutions and make sure our clients are able to be flexible in order to get that best talent.
Great. Thank you. Chandra, same question?
Yeah, great job, Matt. I think you covered a lot of great points there as well that at top of mind for me. I think just that creative solutions and services shift. I think you're going to see more of that, whether it's a hybrid approach or full-blown, more of a managed process as well. And I think we were really thrust into that even more over the last couple of years, just given some of the challenges that we faced, like we talked about with the remote workforce. And I think some of the gaps that we all said, hey, we've got to really look at, okay, if this is going to be the future, that remote workforce or some sort of hybrid model, because companies have, I think, found, hey, we can attract candidates and resources from all over the country. Oh no, am I echoing? Am I echoing to everybody else?
No, it's okay. I think Irene is next.
Okay. I thought I was echoing there. No, that's okay. So really looking at how do we lean in, engage with these employees, offer up solutions from a retention perspective, technology perspective, and really offering creativity there. And then another trend, and I think the data speaks to it, is these challenging and rapid, fluid changing conditions that we are experiencing right now in the marketplace. I don't, at least within the next probably 12 to 18 months, where I think we're going to continue to see that, the high, I don't want to say resignation, but Irene, you spoke to that kind of jumping from job to job. And the challenges with the low unemployment rates and the remote opportunities that we're seeing everywhere. So I do see those trends continuing down that path, certainly.
Thank you, Chandra. This is extremely important. Irene, I don't know if you heard that last question, but we were discussing what trends do you anticipate in the contingent workforce space that we'll have in the next year? And do you think that those trends that you see in the market right now needs to be addressed by the corporation that you are supporting throughout?
Thank you, Karen. Well, I think that there's a saying that we've all heard a lot. There's a war for talent, and recently we had a speaker at corporate, and this comment that he made really, and talent has won, and really just making an entire shift in your mind that you really do have to meet the candidates where they are. I think the corporations who provide, flexible schedule, who are willing to, if possible, work remote. In that recent survey I mentioned, the third biggest component for moving is the ability to work, remote. And then I think just the investment back in the candidate. We've kind of talked about these trends, but to that point, it's like it's never been before. And so I think we have to challenge ourselves to really make that mind shift, to meeting the it's going to continue to become more difficult.
Okay. Thank you, Irene. I think that was perfect. I do see we have a few questions on the chat that I'm going to address now. First question is from Delia. How are customers and suppliers partnering to meet diversity goals? I can share from our end as the corporate, we definitely have a diversity strategy. So we do have several diverse suppliers that we're engaging into our workforce, and we are working with them on certain needs. They are actually doing a lot of competitive bidding as well, so they have a equal opportunity, unbiased, to play as well. But it is interesting to hear, do you partner, any of you, with diverse suppliers, maybe on a corp-to-corp basis or a different other way to increase diversity? Chandra, Matt? Have I lost you?
Oh, sorry, my microphone froze there. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. We do have, and Karen, I'm glad you spoke to that as well. We do have inclusion and diversity initiatives internally to ensure that we're the best representation of our workforce, our internal workforce, our external workforce, and then marketplace from partnering as well. And really, from a perspective, we do lean into the programs, and we want to ensure that we are understanding of what our partners and our clients' initiatives are too, to ensure that we can engage correctly from an I&D or D&I perspective from there. But then we also do have strategic diverse supplier partners as well that we work with from there. So there is opportunity to strategically partner there.
Great. Anybody wants to take this one as well? Nothing to add? Okay. In that case, we'll move to the next question. I see Sarah. This one is for you, Matt. You spoke a lot about upscaling and rescaling your workforce to retain them. Can you give us a few examples of how you're effectively engaging contractors to participate in upscaling programs?
Sure. So I think that goes back to something Irene mentioned early on in the conversation about our contractor help program. Understanding we have a constant communication with our contractors, understanding what they're going through day to day, understanding some of the challenges they might be having at a particular client, and just making sure they're happy, because the happier they are, the better they can perform, the better they make look Apex, the better they're going to do for our clients. So. And in those conversations, when we're kind of checking in on them, sometimes this upskilling comes up. Like, oh, I wish I could, understand this technology better. Or Transamerica is focused on Salesforce this year. How can you help me upskill? If I'm just a Java developer, how can you help me upskill into this Salesforce platform? So we've invested in several different training sites where, free of charge, we can give contractors different licenses so that they can actually upskill in real time on their own time, to make sure they get different certifications, that they can make sure they understand different technologies they might be working on a little bit faster or better. And we find that that ability to try and upskill them in real time often helps with retention. They feel like that they're learning, they're continuously on the job, kind of learning. And what Transamerica does that a lot of my other clients may not do is that they really make our contractors feel like they're part of the community. Yes, I know that we're supposed to have them, as part of our W-2 and all those things, and there is a divide where Transamerica wants all that ownership to kind of go on us. But I will say, all of our contractors, while they're there, they do feel like they're part of the Transamerica team. And that goes a long way for retention as well. And so while we are talking with our contractors, we're also talking with the Transamerica managers to understand, okay, well, is this contractor weak in a certain area? And I think Chandra brought that up, maybe about like, okay, maybe this isn't the absolute 100% rock star ideal candidate, but where can we upskill them? Where can we help them get a little bit more information to turn them into that, especially because talent is so scarce. If they're 80% of the way there, what can we as a company do to help them be productive in your environment? So I think I answered the question, but let me know if
Yeah.
there's
No,
follow-up.
that was perfect. And this is actually exactly what I was trying to say before. When we are implementing vendor management systems or programs, we're not trying to cut that relationship. The relationship, the feedback, suppliers working with managers to make sure the contractors are successful, getting trained, getting everything they need to be successful in the environment, in their job, and seeing if there is any gap that we can work together before we go into terminations and having attritions. We will all work together, and this is definitely not something that the program will ever be part of or involved, and we will not have any limitations. The only limitations that the program is usually put is in the sourcing process only, just to encourage an unbiased sourcing process. And with that, I actually have another question. So everybody knows that competition thrives best when there is a level playing field for all the suppliers. Eh, do you feel like in-house program, vendor neutral MSPs, or maybe just even MSPs, which one works best to give you that playing level, that level playing field, that you get the equal opportunity and the sourcing is as unbiased as possible? Is there any specific business model that works better for you, or do you work well with either one? Eh, Irene, I'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Karen. I'm thinking through your question, and so much of answers around the program really lead to the culture of the program that I think is set by the client. And so I think there can be level playing fields in a competitive environment with an MSP or when it's managed directly. I think that we're finding second evolution. A lot of clients are managing the programs directly themselves because then there is no third party who may or may not be owned by a firm that is also in the staffing business. So probably it's our default, what we might consider best in class. We certainly have successful relationship with MSP clients as well, but I do think that it streams the line of communication.
Great. Chandra, you want to take this one as well?
Yep, absolutely. And to kind of pivot too off of what Irene spoke to, because there was a lot of great information there. It's not necessarily one program over the other. Like she said, it goes back to the culture of the program. And I think what I spoke to most at the beginning of this conversation was more around the communication, the transparency, and the partnership. So whether it's a internally run, the PMO office that's running point, or of communication and opportunity for us as suppliers to share feedback, to really understand the ask and the need. Whereas I see it not as successful is when you're part of a program where you feel like the MSP team maybe feels like that they're just a rec taker and they're just kicking out that, the bullet points of information, and the suppliers don't really have an opportunity to seek to understand, what is that operations team really looking for. So engaging in whether it's supplier-based calls, qualification intakes, and really understanding that, and an opportunity to share insight on, having the MSP or PMO office share that feedback and the data points that we talked about and what's going to make that a successful project and what they're looking for. So I think it goes back, like Irene said, to the culture and then just that level of transparency and communication.
Fantastic. Matt, I'll let you answer that. And I think that this is actually the last questions we have. So feel free to.
Okay. Yeah, no, a lot of good points there. The other thing is, with Apex, we deal with both. And so there's just so many clients that have both nowadays that that's kind of the reality. I think where we work best is to kind of piggyback on both the other panelists is just the communication and being open and honest with us and thinking through flexible solutions. I will say that, on the flip side, and Karen, this is kind of your world, but if there's anybody on the other side, the MSP world, I mean, choose your vendors carefully. Make sure that they're going to partner with you. Make sure that they're going to provide good candidates. Make sure they want to work within your rules of engagement. And while the goal for at least for us is to make sure we can work together. If that's not the way your MSP works, then make sure you can find partners that work that way with you. Because I think at the end of the day, if I was able to kind of sum up a lot of the things that we're talking about, it comes down to trust and the ability to communicate and be straightforward with your partners. And at the end of the day, that's going to provide and yield the best type of results.
Absolutely. And I'll say it out loud. Supplier optimization in certain programs is not something to be afraid of. If a supplier is not doing well in a specific program, it's absolutely okay to reset and discuss, okay, this program is not right for you, or this is not the type of positions that you need to support. Maybe discuss addressing and maybe opening them to supporting a different side of the business or being altogether out of the program. But this is definitely not something that we should be afraid of doing as a corporate, and this will definitely benefit the suppliers as well. Well, I do not see any additional questions in the chat. I'm looking to see if we have anything else. Oh, actually think we do. There is one question from Tamara. Working with an MSP, why and when should I consider a VMS? So it all depends on what the company is willing to invest. In my world, the company was more than happy to invest into an in-house program, and I had the knowledge and the talent and the ability to bring people into the world to create and build this team of amazing supporting team that I have that's managing the day to day. It's not always the case. And if you don't have the budget and you don't have the bandwidth and you don't have the information on how to manage and how to implement such a program, because it's a big ask. Usually an MSP is how most clients would start, whether it's neutral, vendor neutral, or whether it's not. It will be a supplier that's also a staffing supplier on your program. And there are several programs. The fees the supplier pays are different. The fees to the VMS supplier are different. It all depends on your ability to be able to do whatever it is that you need. But definitely MSP would be the route if no budget to invest in a team of PMO in-house. Um, I see another question from Judita. As a supplier that specializes in diverse staffing, it is still harder to get into MSP programs if they don't already have proof of your performance, while MSPs looks to partner with diverse supplier. They aren't concerned with your contingent workforce demographic. That's a fantastic question. And yes, and this is a problem that a lot of the suppliers are having into getting, and not just the VMS or into MSP, into VMS programs as well, just because my pool of supplier is set. Adding additional suppliers is always challenging because we always look at that thin line between balancing what we have, what we need, and the will to not overwhelm. We want to keep everybody having a fair chance and unbiased sourcing. I wouldn't want to add too many suppliers, and then every position that they have will be released to 7, 8, 9 suppliers, which will be a bit too much. So it is challenging, but I think that the inclusion and diversity trend, well, it's not really a trend, but the way that people refer to it, I think every program and every company now have a policy, is interested in integrating diverse suppliers and diverse staffing into the workforce if they don't already have a program in place. And I think that that's definitely something that we are seeing quite a bit in the workforce. Matt, Irene, any of you wants to address one of those? Chandra, maybe you as well. If you ever seen any issues or faced any diverse staffing issues, are you partnering with diverse staffing? I think you said you do to mitigate the goals and reach that goals if you are not one. Oh, Irene, I think you're muted.
I think that there are examples. Robert Half does not own a third party or an MSP relationship. So just speaking as a supplier, there definitely has been situations where we've partnered with diverse suppliers in our joint effort to provide them contractors. So I think every program's different depending upon the size and the requirements of the client in and of itself. So I guess I would just say we certainly have done that. and are willing to do that when clients requested of us.
Perfect. And I do see the questions are flying in, so that's fantastic. Avinash, is Transamerica open to add new vendors? I love that question. I am getting those questions, probably 50 questions a day. Usually, the best way is to email me. I do have a list, and I know it sounds like I'm saying so. I do have a list of prospective suppliers, and when we do have a need, I am actually going back and looking into what I have, what additional suppliers, if I need to. That would always be the best. But what are the best ways to approach an organization? Personally, I would say not cold calling. There is nothing that interrupts my day more than just getting out of the bloom a call from a supplier I never spoke with or wanted to reach out to. Email is always super appropriate. And if you can attach your capabilities, your strong suit, not just telling us, oh, we can do everything. Let us know what you're best and most qualified, because no MSP and no company will add a supplier to everything. So definitely focus on a couple of additional areas that you are very strong in, and we can absolutely and highlight, are you a diverse supplier? Are you a minority? Are you small business? Anything that you have to make you more attractive, this is definitely being taken into consideration, and we're definitely going to look into it. Eh, Another question I see, the journey of building a new client partnership is considered the most difficult. Would you all quote some areas that should definitely form part of the discussion in better understanding what's at stake for both parties? And this is definitely considered the most difficult, I'll admit. And I think that this is most tailored to you guys. And if you want to take this question, how are you building that client partnership? Um, what areas are you forming it?
I can start.
Sure.
For me, the biggest thing is when we get an opportunity, make sure we treat that opportunity like gold. Make sure that we are doing everything in our possible power to make sure we come through and then build through referrals. That's the way we've kind of grown our business. So we started at Transamerica as a very small supplier. We had a couple of contractors, and we built it that way. So through word of mouth, through the ability to perform when asked on a difficult requisition, I think that's always kind of a game changer. And so building kind of your brand within the client is always I always like to do it from the ground up, and that's not the easiest way, but I feel like that's the most lasting way, and that's why we have such a good partnership with you guys.
Agree. Well, I think that that was the last question we had, and I wanted to thank everybody for joining us and my wonderful panel. Thank you so much. It truly has been insightful and eye-opening, and I can't thank you enough for joining me today. Definitely looking forward to our continued partnership and communication. And thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.